Today, BBC Spotlight has further revelations after its investigation into a prolific paedophile priest, Malachy Finnegan, who abused boys in his care over 4 decades around Newry. This morning, Mandy Macaulay will reveal the following. A complaint has been made to the police ombudsman by a group of Finnegan's victims. They believe there were police failures to properly investigate Malachy Finnegan. BBC Spotlight has also been told that the church has been informed some members of the local community will refuse to set foot in the parochial house in Hilltown or even recognise it as a community hub after discovering at least one child was raped on the premises. Now, there are significant questions this morning for the police and the Catholic Church. 2 weeks ago, the former president of one of the most prestigious grammar schools in Northern Ireland, St Colmans College in Newry, was publicly named as a serial paedophile. Father Malachy Finnegan, a priest of the Diocese of Dromore, abused boys in his care over 4 decades in St Colmans and parishes near Newry. His name was made public following an extraordinary out-of-court settlement brought by one of his many victims against the Diocese of Dromore and St Colmans College. The BBC Spotlight programme has broadcast exclusive interviews with some of Finnegan's victims and revelations about who knew what and when. And Spotlight's reporter Mandy Macaulay is with me in the studio now. What's been the reaction, Mandy, since your programme?
Well, Stephen, an overwhelming reaction to the programme, and the fallout continues. We know from the testimony still coming into Spotlight from here and around the globe that Malachy Finnegan devastated many lives. Myself and my producer Denise O'Connor are still gathering very disturbing, emotionally raw testimony from men who say they were groomed and abused by him. Also from people extremely concerned about family members and close friends who they suspect were abused after seeing the programme. The majority are former pupils of St Colmans College in Newry, where Malachy Finnegan was employed over 3 decades, first as a spiritual director and teacher, before being elevated to president of the school in 1976. That's a position he held there until 1987.
And what scale, Mandy, are we talking about here in terms of victims?
Well, Stephen, it's really, really important at the outset to make it very clear that there were many boys at St Colmans College who were not abused by Malachy Finnegan and who will testify that they spent time on their own with him and nothing untoward happened. But others we've spoken to were groomed and sexually assaulted by him in his private quarters, in the school chapel, raped by him in the late 60s, 70s and 80s. Others were taken out in his car, picked up from their parents' home where Finnegan was welcomed as the family priest. Some were taken to the Royal County Down Golf Club, also others to the swimming pool and spa in hotels in Newcastle, where Finnegan stripped naked in the showers and rubbed himself against at least one terrified 12-year-old boy.
And obviously you're getting a sense this morning that there will be some graphic detail. There will be very graphic detail discussed on the radio this morning, so please be aware of that as you're listening to the radio over the next few minutes. But this is a very important story. It's 2 weeks now, Mandy, since Spotlight aired. What's been happening now?
Well, in recent days, the local GAA in Hilltown have advised anyone who has been abused by Malachy Finnegan to go to the PSNI. Malachy Finnegan was parish priest in Hilltown, president of the local GAA club from 1985 to 1988 to 95 after he left St Colmans College. He looked after some of the juvenile football teams. This appeal going out from the GAA 2 weeks after Hilltown man Sean Falloon shared his searing testimony of abuse at the hands of Finnegan with Spotlight. Sean Falloon was raped from the age of 11 by the priest, often in the bedroom of the parochial house, Clonduff House, after Sunday Mass.
And again, a warning that the testimony that you're about to hear is graphic in nature.
Really, I lost my virginity when I was 11 in his car. The first time I ejaculated in his car. And I hadn't a clue what was going on. I just felt this pain in my lower stomach. But I couldn't say I'm in pain. he just kept playing. And then it happened and everything was wet and I was panicking because I caused this mess in his car. He's almost celebrating, telling me I was a man now, you're a man now. He kept repeating, you're a man now. And he had tissues in his glove box and cleaned me up. He took me down to the parochial house and put me in his bath and cleaned me. But all the time he wasn't smiling. The grin on his face went from ear to ear. It very quickly went from touching me up in his car and inside his house in the living room to going upstairs into his bed.
In the parochial house?
Completely naked.
Well, Stephen, we now know that in 1994, when Sean Falloon was being abused by Malachy Finnegan, the then Bishop of Dromore, Francis Gerard Brooks, was alerted to a serious allegation of sexual assault against Malachy Finnegan. We also know that the current Bishop of Dromore, the Very Reverend John McAreevy, was directly involved in that case. He was appointed by Bishop Brooks in 1994 to provide pastoral support to the abuse victim and his family. Now, there is no record of the police or the local community being alerted to that allegation. Rather, Father Malachy Finnegan was secretly dispatched to a centre for the treatment of paedophile priests in England. Now, what's really astonishing here is that Father Finnegan was sent to England 2 months after the Father Brendan Smith scandal broke in the media and within weeks of the Irish government collapsing in the scandal that followed. In 1994, Catholic parishes and statutory authorities were on high alert re child protection issues. And yet, in the midst of the hysteria surrounding the Brendan Smith revelations, the Church allowed Finnegan to return to Hilltown, a community teeming with young children, seemingly unsupervised 6 months later in the summer of 1995. Within 2 days of his return, he raped Sean Falloon in the parochial house at Hilltown.
And I think what's important for us to get into our minds now is that happened in the midst of all of the hysteria surrounding the Brendan Smith revelations. Mandy, how are the people in Hilltown reacting to these horrific revelations?
Well, as you would expect, Stephen, shock, distress, anger. I've heard a lot of anger from people who have contacted me. People who've contacted us also adamant, some of them adamant, that they will not set foot in or recognise the parochial house in Hilltown as a community or church hub, given that they now know that at least one child was raped on the premises.
And that's new this morning, Mandy. So
yes,
we're revealing that this morning.
Yes.
So tell me that again. People are telling Spotlight what?
They're telling us that they're adamant that they will not set foot in or recognise the parochial house in Hilltown as a community or church hub, given that they now know what happened in that house, that at least one boy, Sean Falloon, was raped there.
And you've something more to tell us this morning.
Well, we can reveal that at the end of Saturday night Mass in Hilltown, the parish priest announced to the congregation that he and the Bishop of Dromore, John McAreevy, have decided that in the present, given what's happened, the priest will no longer be staying in the parochial house at night. We have a webcam recording of this, and here is what he told parishioners on Saturday evening.
And I was talking to the Bishop this morning, Bishop McAreevy, and it's been decided that I'll no longer be staying in the parochial house here at night in light of what has happened. It's been arranged that I stay in the parochial house in Warren Point for the time being until something is sorted out here in the parish.
Mandy, it's not just the church you're under fire.
No, Stephen, I can reveal that a number of Malachy Finnegan's victims have just notified the police ombudsman, Michael Maguire, that they are lodging a detailed group complaint with him. They're now asking Michael Maguire to step in and get answers on their behalf about what they believe are police failures to properly investigate Malachy Finnegan in the 1990s when he was still alive.
And I think what's important this morning, because obviously a lot of this you will find shocking today. This story is unfolding. Spotlight aired a couple of weeks ago, and after Mandy's investigation, people continuing to contact Spotlight and Mandy. And so now this new information that the victims of Malachy Finnegan are asking the police ombudsman to investigate police failures, and that clearly is significant news today. How have the police responded, Malachy, Mandy, to your questions?
Well, Stephen, when we first put our questions to police about when they were first alerted to allegations of sexual abuse against Malachy Finnegan, they confirmed that a number of complaints were received a number of years after the death of the individual concerned, but told us, and I quote, "The retrieval of further historic information would require a manual trawl of both computer and paper-based systems, and they advised me to resubmit my request to the PSNI Freedom of Information Department." Now, on the programme, we revealed that police in Newry were alerted to allegations of child sex abuse against Finnegan by Sean Falloon in 1996, but failed to even interview the priest, even though he was still alive at that stage. He died in 2002. Sean Falloon has told us that as a young 17-year-old, he was too frightened to make a formal complaint against Finnegan, but he was very anxious that no other child would suffer like he had. He said that even though he was too scared to proceed with the complaint in 1996, he told police that he wanted to place on record that a priest who was still alive had abused him from the age of 10.
Well, I think the question that we all have this morning, what did the police do about Finnegan when Sean reported him in 1996?
Well, it appears that they did nothing because it wasn't a formal complaint. Spotlight asked the PSNI if they now felt that they should have interviewed Malachy Finnegan at the time, but they haven't answered that question. They did, however, confirm that they had received a report of what they called historic sexual and physical abuse from a 17-year-old in December 1996.
Why are they describing it as historic?
Well, frankly, Stephen, I don't know why they are describing it as historic. Sean says he told them the time frame of the abuse. He was 17 when he walked into the police station in 1996. He says he told them that he had been sexually abused by Malachy Finnegan from the age of 10 to 16. That's from 1989 right up until 1995. At the time he spoke to police, Sean says it was only months since he had had sex with Finnegan. Even though he was 17 at the time, he reported it in 1996 when the age of consent for homosexual acts meant that it would have clearly amounted to statutory rape.
And of course, that was Sean telling the police. The big question is, when did the church tell the police?
Well, that's something that I believe we'll be picking up tomorrow. I'll be back with you in the morning with more developments on that.
Okay, well, obviously, Mandy, thank you very much indeed.
you.
And obviously there is a lot more to come from BBC Spotlight about this very, very important story. And just to go over some of this again that we've learnt from Mandy McCauley today. A complaint has now been made to the police ombudsman by a group of Finnegan's victims. They believe there were police failures to properly investigate Malachy Finnegan, and Spotlight has also been told, we're learning today, Spotlight's also been told that the church has been informed that some members of the local community will now refuse to set foot in the parochial house in Hilltown or even recognise it as a community hub. Mandy, thank you.
Thank you,
18
Stephen.
minutes past 9 o'clock, 03030 80 55 55 is our number this morning. The text 81771, the email nolan@bbc.co.uk.